Welcome back. In this episode, we're covering safe work practices, which accounts for about 15% of the certified arborist exam, the single largest domain. This section tests whether you understand how to protect yourself, your crew, and the public while performing tree work. On the exam, safety isn't optional, and it's never secondary to productivity. By the end of this episode, you'll know how the exam expects arborists to identify hazards, plan work safely, use equipment properly, and respond to emergencies. Let's start with the most important principle. No tree work happens safely without planning. Industry-accepted safety standards. The exam emphasizes compliance with industry-accepted safety standards and local regulations. You don't need to memorize the text of every standard, but you do need to recognize that. Arboricultural work must follow accepted safety requirements. Local laws and regulations apply. Safety decisions override convenience or speed. If a question asks for the correct or best action, the safest option is usually the right one. Hazard identification and work planning. Before work begins, hazards must be identified. Common hazards tested include structural defects in trees, root or trunk decay, mechanical damage, insects, animals, or plants that pose risks, environmental hazards like traffic, slopes, or unstable ground. The exam expects you to recognize that hazard assessment happens before climbing, cutting, or rigging begins. Visual tree inspection. A visual inspection includes evaluating tree structure, lean and load distribution, cracks, splits, or decay, soil heaving, or root plate instability. If a tree cannot safely withstand the forces applied during work, the correct answer involves changing the work plan, not proceeding. Electrical hazards. This is a heavily tested area. The exam expects you to understand basic electrical principles, types of electrical systems, minimum approach distances, key exam concept. Tree workers do not work within minimum approach distances unless properly qualified and equipped. If a question mentions power lines, the safest answer usually involves maintaining required distances, contacting the utility, modifying the work plan, tools and equipment safety. The exam tests safe use of hand tools, chainsaws, chippers and stump grinders, aerial lifts, and large equipment such as cranes. You must recognize proper inspection before use, selecting the right tool for the job, using tools according to manufacturer specifications. Unsafe shortcuts are never correct exam answers. Personal protective equipment. PPE is not optional. The exam expects arborists to select, inspect, wear, and maintain appropriate PPE, including head protection, eye and face protection, hearing protection, leg and foot protection, hand protection, climbing saddles, harnesses, and connecting hardware. If PPE is missing or improperly used in a question scenario, that's usually the problem being tested. Climbing and work positioning. Safe climbing requires proper rope systems, appropriate knots or mechanical devices, controlled ascent and descent, and secure work positioning. The exam focuses on critical climbing tasks, not advanced techniques. If a situation appears unstable, the correct response is to reposition, adjust, or stop work. Rigging and tree removal. Rigging safety includes selecting appropriate hardware, understanding anticipated forces, choosing strong anchor points. Tree removal questions often test felling techniques, directional control, and escape routes. Awareness of hazards like barber chairs or kickback. Planning is always emphasized over improvisation. Emergency preparedness. The exam expects arborists to be prepared for emergencies. Key concepts include emergency action plans, first aid and CPR, aerial rescue, communication with emergency responders. If a question involves injury or hazardous conditions, the correct answer prioritizes scene safety and communication. Promoting safety culture. The exam also tests leadership and communication. Arborists should promote safety training, communicate hazards clearly, encourage safe behaviors, support ongoing education. Safety is a shared responsibility, and the exam reflects that. Exam focus callouts. Watch for these patterns. Productivity prioritized over safety. Hazards identified but not addressed. Electrical risks minimized. PPE ignored or incomplete. Emergency planning overlooked. If an answer feels rushed or risky, it's probably wrong. Rapid review summary. Let's lock this in. Safety planning comes first. Hazards must be identified before work begins. Electrical hazards demand strict distance and coordination. Tools and equipment must be inspected and used properly. PPE is required, not optional. Emergency preparedness is part of professional tree work. That's safe work practices, the most heavily weighted domain on the exam. If you consistently choose the safest, most professional option, you'll score well here and protect yourself in the real world too. Next up, we'll wrap up with urban forestry, the final domain. You're almost all the way through. Keep it going. Thanks for listening to the Arborist podcast. Let's keep building your arborist knowledge one domain at a time.